Today, we're taking on one of the most ambitious cruise excursions of our trip, a 10.5-hour journey through Capri, Sorrento, and Pompeii. From breathtaking island cliffs and crystal clear water, to lemon groves hanging over the coastline, to walking the ancient streets of a city frozen in time nearly 2,000 years ago, this day felt like experiencing three completely different worlds in a single adventure. The pace is fast, the day is long, and you definitely only get a taste of each destination. But honestly, that's part of what makes this excursion so incredible. And when you're traveling through southern Italy, having every ferry, transfer, and detail organized for you might just be the biggest luxury of all. So come along with us as we explore some of the most iconic places in the Mediterranean, all in one unforgettable day in Naples. This excursion on Royal Caribbean Odyssey of the Seas cost our group of 6 people about $1,100, which comes out to roughly $180 per person. Now, at first glance, that might sound expensive, but when you consider that this was a fully organized 10.5-hour excursion with transportation, ferry tickets, admission into Pompeii, and all of the logistics completely handled for you, it actually felt like a pretty good value. When visiting places like this, coordinating transportation yourself can become half of the battle. Our day started early, around 7 a.m., when we met on board and departed for the island of Capri. To get there, we took what's called a hydrofoil boat, basically a high-speed ferry designed with underwater wing-like structures that lift the boat slightly above the water as it moves. This reduces drag and allows the boat to travel much faster and smoother than traditional ferries, which is very important because Capri is about a 45-minute ride from Naples, so without the hydrofoils, getting there would take significantly longer and would make trying to fit Capri, Sorrento, and Pompeii into one day almost impossible. When we got to Capri, hundreds of passengers poured off of these ferries onto relatively small dock areas, and honestly, it was a little chaotic at first. Everyone was funneling toward the cable cars that take you up to the main shopping and town area of the island, but once we made it up to the top, everything immediately became much more relaxed. We ended up having about an hour and a half to explore on our own, which was enough time to wander through the streets, grab a snack, and take some absolutely incredible photos overlooking the crystal clear Mediterranean water. Capri is honestly one of those places that instantly makes you say, gosh, I need to come back here. You could easily spend several days on this island alone, especially if you came during a less crowded time without multiple cruise ships in port. One of the things that Capri is known for is its lemons, and you see that influence everywhere. We sampled lemon chocolates, lemon pastries, lemon jello, and all kinds of locally made products inspired by the island's citrus. Between the bright colors, the ocean views, and the cliffside scenery, it really did feel like a postcard come to life. And of course, there was plenty of shopping. Like many places throughout Italy, Capri is filled with luxury boutiques and designer stores where you could very easily spend a lot of money if you weren't careful. Thankfully, we only had about an hour and a half there, so we didn't get into too much trouble. After Capri, we got back on the boat and made our way to Sorrento. This stop was definitely much shorter and really served as much more of a lunch break during the excursion. But honestly, it came at the perfect time because by then we were starving, and what better place to grab lunch than near Naples, the birthplace of authentic Neapolitan pizza. The tour guide gave us several restaurant recommendations, and we ended up finding a great spot to sit down, relax, and enjoy fresh pizza right in Italy. Honestly, just being able to slow down for a little while, enjoy the atmosphere, and eat incredible food was definitely a highlight. We still had a little bit of time afterward to walk around the town square, browse some shops, and take in the scenery before heading back onto the bus to the final stop of the excursion, Pompeii. Pulling into Pompeii was probably one of the most impactful parts of this entire day. One thing that really surprised me immediately was that the ruins are basically in the middle of a modern city. I guess I had imagined Pompeii isolated somewhere out in the countryside, but archaeologists have actually been excavating this site since 1748, over 275 years, and even today a significant portion of the ancient city still remains buried underground. Before walking through the ruins themselves, we first went through a museum area that displayed preserved artifacts, frescoes, and even human remains from the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. Honestly, seeing the preserved bodies was emotional and a little overwhelming. Many of them were frozen in the exact positions that they were in when the pyroclastic surge swept through the city nearly 2,000 years ago. Because Pompeii was buried under volcanic ash, so much of the artwork and the architecture was incredibly well preserved, giving archaeologists one of the best snapshots of ancient Roman life ever discovered. Walking through Pompeii itself was absolutely surreal. You're standing in the middle of an ancient street, looking at buildings and ruins that are almost 2 millennia old, while Mount Vesuvius towers ominously in the background. What especially is interesting is that Vesuvius originally had a much taller, cone-shaped peak, but the massive eruption caused part of the volcano to collapse, leaving the distinct shape you can still see today. And the craziest part, it's still considered an active volcano. It was incredibly hot walking through the ruins, and honestly, bringing umbrellas for shade was one of the smartest things we did all day. Even though we spent a decent amount of time there, Pompeii is somewhere you could easily spend multiple days exploring, especially if you visited the National Archaeological Museum in Naples, where many of the additional artifacts are displayed. By the end of the day, we were exhausted. This was the final excursion of our entire cruise, and we had packed almost every day with long adventures like this. After a short ride back to the ship, we ended up being some of the last guests to return on board because this excursion was so long. But without question, Pompeii was worth it. And honestly, if someone only chooses one major historical excursion during this cruise itinerary, I think Pompeii should probably be the one. Overall, this excursion was definitely expensive, and it made for a very long day. But honestly, it was absolutely worth it. In one single excursion, we experienced the beauty of Capri, authentic food in Sorrento, and one of the most important archaeological sites in the world at Pompeii. If you're sailing on Odyssey of the Seas and trying to decide whether to book this tour, I would personally say to bite the bullet and do it because you really get to see an incredible amount in just one unforgettable day.